Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive explainer. And wow, today is an absolutely massive one, so I really need you all dialed in. Consider this your official high-stakes mission briefing. We've finally arrived at day 33 of your cybersecurity journey, and honestly, things are getting incredibly real. We're tackling web application penetration testing. If you've been grinding away, building your skills day by day, well, this is the exact moment where the rubber meets the road. This is where we start actively analyzing and probing complex web systems. So get ready, because today, we're taking everything up a notch.
Okay, let's dive into this. What does it genuinely take to master web application penetration testing? That's the core question we've got to answer today. And it's a huge one, right? Because mastering this isn't just about, blindly throwing exploits at a wall to see what sticks. Real mastery requires a precise, calculated progression, going all the way from foundational theory right through to flawless execution. To truly understand a system's vulnerabilities, you have to know how to systematically break it down. And that means we need a crystal clear, organized path to follow for today's mission.
So here's our roadmap for the day. It seamlessly builds your journey from start to finish. Step 1 focuses on core topics. Step 2 equips you with the tools. Step 3 puts you in the lab. And finally, Step 4 culminates in a mini project.
Let's move to and see how this builds our critical first phase. Phase 1, the topics. This is exactly where we lay down the absolute theoretical groundwork before touching a single tool.
Think of this part of the process as casing the joint before a highly sophisticated heist. These 5 core areas, methodology, authentication, sessions, cookies, and business logic, represent the essential terrain you absolutely must navigate. This is your target blueprint. You need to know how every single one of these elements functions, how they interact, and exactly where their weak points usually hide, long before you even think about touching a keyboard to launch an attack.
Let's isolate that very first piece for a second, methodology. A structured approach is the absolute prerequisite before tackling any specific vulnerabilities. Honestly, methodology is your playbook. It dictates how you map the application, discover hidden directories, and systematically test inputs. Without it, you're just making noise. Fun fact, a massive percentage of real-world bug bounties are paid out simply because a tester found a hidden directory that standard automated tools just completely missed. With a solid methodology, you're a professional conducting a thorough, repeatable security audit. It is literally the bedrock of everything we do in web pen testing.
Once your overarching methodology is securely in place, we immediately look at the gates and the guards of the application, authentication and sessions. I'm grouping these two together to illustrate how they flow seamlessly to govern user access and identity during a test. Authentication asks the system, hey, are you who you say you are? While sessions ask, okay, how do we securely remember you as you navigate from page to page? Finding a flaw in how these two mechanisms interact means you could potentially hijack another user's identity, which, effectively hands you the keys to the kingdom. And this brilliantly illustrates how the next two topics are intimately connected: cookies and business logic. You already know cookies carry session states and JWTs. But the key insight here is how manipulating that cookie data ties directly into testing the overarching business logic of a web app. Business logic basically represents the intended rules of the game, how the application is supposed to function under normal use. But if you can forge or manipulate a session token, you can very often trick the application's business logic into doing something it was never designed to do, like, say, bypassing a mandatory payment step or just granting yourself administrative privileges. Wild, right?
With the theory locked firmly in our minds, it is time for Phase 2, tools. Consider this your warning. It's time to equip your arsenal.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the visual juxtaposition of the two heavy-hitting proxies required for the job. We've got Burp Suite Professional on one side and OWASP Zap on the other. Both of these function as web proxies that sit right between your browser and the target server. They allow you to intercept, pause, inspect, and even maliciously modify web traffic on the fly. Burp Suite Professional is largely considered the industry gold standard, used by major corporate security teams, whereas OWASP Zap is a phenomenally powerful, totally free, open-source alternative. Getting comfortable with how these tools manipulate traffic? Yeah, that's a strict requirement for mastering day 33.
You have the knowledge. You are equipped with the tools. So now, we transition into Phase 3, the lab. We need a dedicated, safe proving ground where theory meets reality.
And your specific laboratory for today's mission is DVWA. That stands for Damn Vulnerable Web Application. I want to spotlight DVWA specifically because it's the exact environment where all of the previous topics we just discussed, authentication, sessions, cookies, business logic, along with your tools like Burp or Zap, will be put to the ultimate test. The brilliant thing about DVWA is that it's intentionally designed to be absolutely full of security holes, meaning you can practice your exploits here without, well, ending up in federal prison. It lets you legally practice, and you can even dial up the difficulty settings as your skills sharpen. It's basically your ultimate training dojo.
But successfully hacking the lab environment is really only part of the job. That brings us to our final stage, Phase 4, the mini project. The day is absolutely not complete without a final deliverable.
So the crucial point is that everything you've learned and executed today culminates in producing this specific professional document, the Web Pen Test Report. This is where all your hard work is translated into actual business value. You'll document your methodology, list every single vulnerability you discovered inside DBWA, detail the exact tools and payloads you used, and explain the real-world risk. Because look, if you can't write it down clearly, concisely, and professionally for a client or a dev team, the penetration test practically didn't happen. Which brings us to the end of our briefing, leaving us with one final provocative challenge. You've learned the structured methodology, you've equipped the interception tools, and you've successfully run the lab to find the exploits. But can you bring it all together and write the final professional web pen test report? That is your true challenge for day 33. The knowledge is there, the path is clear. Good luck, stay intensely focused, and I'll see you on the next explainer.